Brian Stelter out at CNN. What an incredible, incredible loss. He had a program called Reliable Source where he trashed Donald Trump, trashed Republicans, and now he has been escorted out of the building. Brian Stelter, you will be missed.
That would be funny if it wasn't so insidious.
He was given the door in part because he was behind people calling the laptop story Russian disinformation, when later on the New York Times, the Washington Post have both said it is not Russian disinformation. I give you once again, Mr. Stelter.
CNN reported on Friday that U.S. authorities are seeing if those emails we just talked about are connected to an ongoing Russian disinformation effort. Now, we already know some of the American producers of this drama because the New York Post says it was tipped off to the existence of the emails by Steve Bannon. Then Rudy Giuliani gave the Post a copy of a hard drive containing the emails. Now, here's where it gets even weirder. The Post claimed that the emails were found on a laptop computer that was brought to a repair shop in Delaware in the spring.
I got a headache. Again, this story was dismissed by CNN, particularly by Brian Stelter, as having all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. 16% of Biden voters, one more time, according to a study, say had they known about the Hunter Biden laptop story, which disproved Joe Biden's claim that he knew nothing whatsoever about his son's overseas businesses, 16% of Biden voters say they would not have voted for Biden. Clearly, the election would have been won by Donald Trump then, but for people like Mr. Brian Stelter. You, sir, will not be missed. Then you have this pundit on MSNBC. When I lost my race for governor of California, the ungracious victory speech by Gavin Newsom said something to the effect of, well, the recall may have been defeated, but Trumpism hasn't been defeated. I'm not even sure what Trumpism is, but apparently there's no vaccine for it. Watch this.
I think that Trumpism can be defeated by Americans standing up and voting against fascism and authoritarianism in the upcoming midterms.
So I guess Trumpism is fascism and authoritarianism, I guess.
I think that that's what Democrats need to put on the ballot, as well as all of the policy initiatives that they are putting forward, like climate change and infrastructure and lowering drug costs for Americans, while the Republican Party is hell-bent on anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ legislation and spreading the big lie. It is very clear.
Sigh. Hillary Clinton, for 4 years, referred to Donald Trump as having stolen the election, her word, not mine. Hillary Clinton, for 4 years, called Donald Trump illegitimate, her word, not mine. One more time, there is no evidence that a single vote tally was changed by the Russians in 2016 in order to elect Donald Trump. I repeat, zero evidence a single vote tally was changed in order to elect Donald Trump. However, according to a YouGov poll, a supermajority, 66% of Democrats believe the Russians changed vote tallies in order to elect Donald Trump. And Jay Johnson said, the former Homeland Security Secretary under Obama, we have no idea whether or not the Russian interference influenced public opinion. We have no idea whether or not the Russian interference influenced the outcome of the election. But 78% of Democrats, according to Gallup, 78% of Democrats believe the Russian interference altered the outcome of the election in order to elect Donald Trump. So the percentage of Democrats who believe 2016 was stolen is actually higher than the percentage of Republicans who believe the same thing about 2020. Yet Hillary's social media platforms never shut down. She's still on Twitter. She's still on IG. She's still on Facebook.
Who is working for the American people and who is working against them. And Democrats need to make that clear. And I believe that we can beat Trumpism if we all show up in the way that we repudiated against him in 2020.
Tiffany Cross is another unhinged host on MSNBC. She has her own show.
Mango Mussolini claims that he had a, quote, standing order to declassify documents that were removed from the Oval Office and taken to the residence. But 18 former top Trump aides, including 2 former chiefs of staff, tell CNN that it's complete fiction, quote, ridiculous, and plain old, quote, BS. Now, that's not great news for the Velveeta Voldemort, whose former lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, claims he took the sensitive documents, some of them top secret to keep in mind, to keep them safe in Mar-a-Lago's basement that lacked a proper lock. Now, personally, I think the National Archives makes more sense, but that's just me and millions of other rational Americans.
Mango Mussolini, Velveeta Voldemort. We are rational Americans. They are all irrational Americans. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you MSNBC Hee Haw that I watch so you don't have to. But first, guess what I have with me? You'll never guess. A MyPillow. That's right. This is the MyPillow that I sleep on. The very MyPillow that I sleep on. See the number on your screen. Call that number or go to mypillow.com and use promo code ELDER. And it's not just the pillows. Oh no. They've got towels. Soft, yet actually absorbent. They work. You go to one of these towel stores and you see these beautiful towels. They look great. They feel great. But they do not work. They don't absorb. The MyPillow towels absorb. And then you have the Giza Dream bed sheets. Unbelievable. Best cotton in the world. And don't forget the MyPillow My Slippers. I have a pair on right now. Okay, maybe not. Because right now I'd be sleeping if I had a pair on right now. They are that soft. So call the number on your screen or go to mypillow.com. They got over 100 products. I kid you not. Over 100 products. Just make sure you use promo code ELDER. I'll be right back. Former CDC director say the COVID lockdowns, the mandates were a public health mistake.
Yeah, I would have been a very select on trying to look at each activity, how do you do it in safe, responsible, and responsible. For example, in the restaurant business, I would have, stopped loud music and people standing around bars, but I would have had people still be able to go into restaurants. I think there was a mistake in those regards. But I think at the heart of it, Neil, and this is what I was trying to get at, CDC has a tendency to come up with information. Once they have all the data, it's all wrapped up in a bow. It's perfect. It's ready for publication in a scientific journal. And what the public health response agencies have to do is take information in real time and try to make real-time recommendations, and then modify those recommendations as the data evolves. But I always give the example of my first briefing that I had as CDC director on the opioid deaths.
And you know what? What about all these other doctors that were skeptical? The ones that signed the Great Barrington Declaration. They were called fringe scientists. And they were very skeptical about the lockdowns. And now the consensus is, even from the World Health Organization, lockdowns were a bad idea. Dr. Fauci was asked whether it was a mistake for him to have recommended locking down. And he said, I never recommended a lockdown.
At the same time, there were authorities that made different decisions than the CDC's recommendations, for example, on school closures, and they did not see higher levels of child mortality when it comes to COVID. And meanwhile, the schools that did close down were now seeing just disastrous levels of learning loss among poor children, children of color, mental health crisis. I wonder if you would recommend locking down schools if you had to do it all over again.
Well, again, it's first of all, I didn't recommend locking anything down. You're asking me questions. You're talking about the CDC is the public health agency that uses their epidemiologists and their science-based approach.
I never recommended locking anything down. Really?
My question for you is, what was the most crucial decision you had to make during the pandemic, and what was the critical thought process that took you through it?
Yeah, the most crucial, it was a decision to make a recommendation to the president. It wasn't my decision that I could implement. And when it became clear that when we had community spread in the country, with a few cases of community spread, this was way before there was a major explosion like we saw in the Northeastern corridor driven by New York City metropolitan area, I recommended to the president that we shut the country down.
But I thought you just now said you never made any recommendation. Oh, never mind. Meanwhile, Joe Biden, sometimes wearing a mask, sometimes not, coughing into his hand, shaking people's hands, putting the mask back on. I give you Joe Biden. Mask back on. Nobody else wearing a mask around him. And shaking hands after coughing in his hand. He's the only one wearing a mask. Schumer, no mask. Clyburn, no mask. Manchin, no mask. Nobody in the audience has on a mask. But Biden does, because Biden just sort of does, doesn't he? Now, hit that like button, subscribe to the show. We put excerpts of the show up on every single day. And again, you can call the show, 888-971-7243. Now, the new Biden tax and spend bill will hire up to 87,000 IRS agents. And this man, former senior staff economist, served as an associate at the National Bureau of Economic Research, became the director of the Congressional Budget Office, says it is unrealistic to think that they're only going to go after wealthy taxpayers. They are not only going to go after wealthy taxpayers, they're going to go after those that are making under $400,000 a year, even though Joe Biden said anybody making under $400,000 a year is not going to be facing a new tax. Watch this.
I certainly don't think it's wise to demagogue the FBI, the IRS, or any of our other federal agencies at this point in time. That seems unwise. I also think that it's unrealistic to think that the IRS is simply going to go after wealthy tax cheats.
What? They're going to go after non-wealthy too?
The IRS is going to staff up and it's going to try to collect taxes that are owed, and it'll go to the place where it can get it most easily. And it's often pretty hard to get money from a well-heeled individual who's got a tax preparer and some tax lawyers. And small businesses, I think, should expect it. Their audit rates will go up, and we'll even see some people who really have the earned income tax credit get their returns checked. So this isn't going to be focused on a particular set of individuals. This is about collecting more of the legally owed taxes.
87,000 new IRS agents. And he just now said it is unrealistic to expect they're only going to go after rich people. So even though Joe Biden said that people that make $400,000 a year or less will not see a tax hike, apparently those who have allegedly violated the law by not paying their taxes are going to be seeing a tax hike. They're going to be paying taxes that they otherwise did not pay. Again, this gets us back to the 15% minimum tax that corporations pay. Corporations don't pay taxes. Their customers pay them in the form of higher prices for goods and services. Their employees pay it in the form of lower wages, or their shareholders pay it in the form of a lower rate of return on their investment. Someone's going to pay it, but corporations do not pay taxes. Now, these are some shocking images as Biden's Border Patrol crisis continues with no sign of stopping. Watch this.
Walking along the southern border with Maverick County Deputy Sheriff Denise Cantu, migrant crossings show no sign of stopping.
You see, they even have a sign for them where it says "Siga el camino." Oh, so wow. They pretty much guide them to where they can just, gather all of them and pick them up.
The sign means.
Now, this is interesting because this is on CBS. This is not on Fox. Do people who don't watch Fox, are they aware of what's going on our borders? Over 2 million illegal aliens have now entered our country since the Biden administration, and that does not count the so-called gotaways. Why? Well, because they feel that eventually there'll be enough political pressure to make the illegal aliens citizens, and these new citizens will vote Democrat. I've said this before, I will say it again. If illegal aliens turn citizens, turn voters, voted Republican, we would not be having this discussion.
follow the path, and Deputy Cantu says it's evidence of just how normal border crossings have become. Law enforcement has already tallied more than 1.9 million migrant encounters this fiscal year.
And again, these are encounters. This doesn't count the ones that are so-called gotaways, the ones that had absolutely no interaction whatsoever with authorities.
Breaking the record set last year, with 2 months left to go.
And again, this is CBS. Why this isn't something that is talked about and talked about and talked about is beyond me. Hope you enjoyed that video. The full show is available to watch right now on Epoch TV. Just click the link in the description below to learn more, because we've got a country to save.